Doug, how does all of this, these artifacts that we see here, how do they fit into your view then of the Tower of Babel? Does it connect here?
It does, because all of these diagnostic forms of pottery and material culture, they're found throughout the Near East, because the people from the site of Eridu expanded to the east, to the south, to the north, and especially, we know of, to the west, all the way into Israel and Egypt. And we find the same kinds of bevel rim bowls there. We find four-lug jars. We find Riemchen bricks. We find the same monumental architecture, such as the tripartite buildings, and we find spouted jars, all throughout these areas. And that is essentially a remnant of this movement of people outward. And this expansion, known as the Uruk expansion, which I'm connecting with the Tower of Babel, I'm saying that the Bible describes an event that's not just the confusion of language, but it's the dispersing of people far from that city. And the city of Eridu was abandoned immediately after the late Uruk period and not occupied again for hundreds and hundreds of years. So all of this material culture gives us a window into the events that are connected with the Tower of Babel.
And it's from these artifacts that you can see that expansion.
That's right.
So this bevel rim bowl that you seem very excited about, are you saying then that helps you connect all of these people and their movement?
Absolutely. In fact, the bevel rim bowl is one of the most diagnostic forms of pottery and material culture for this entire expansion that shows that this people group moved out from Eridu.
Does that also help you understand that that must have been a rapid movement because you don't see change in those bowls?
Yes, it shows us that at an immediate moment in time, people literally packed their bags and left the area of southern Mesopotamia. And they show up in other places throughout the ancient Near East. And what's different about this expansion, in contrast to the earlier Ubaid expansion, the other of two expansions that took place during the pre-historical period, the Uruk expansion is characterized by a very different way of interacting and way of settling. And let me give you a couple examples. First of all, we have a lot of sites that were established on virgin soil. Also, wherever they settled with people, either there was an attack of the community, the people in the community already there, and they would literally wipe them out and take over, or if they lived among them, they would live in what we call the world's first segregated living. They would live in the same vicinity as the original occupants, but next door, not intermingling and living in the same houses on the same streets.
So we have evidence then of different people groups now for the first time.
Absolutely. And the world's first segregated life.
So that would be the evidence or the symptom, I guess, of what you would expect of those people that were dispersed from the Tower of Babel, now with a different language and immediately a different people group.
Right, and that's why we have segregated living, because they weren't able to blend with one another, converse with one another. So it makes sense that they would live in separate areas around the town. And the same dynamic happens within big cities all around the world where you have multiple people groups. A people group comes in, they can't speak the local language, and they develop a community within that city that's a very ethnically singular group of people.